Oh boy, I wasn't looking forward to this. Wall-E is okay.
What?
I'm sorry, but of all the classic Pixar films, Wall-E is one of those that never seem to click with me or the rest of my family. And the weird part is that we seem to be the only people who have this opinion. Everyone else absolutely loves this movie, and I genuinely don't understand why. I mean, I'm happy for people who like this movie. I mean, I wish I could too. I mean, I wish I could call this the best Pixar movie ever, like all you guys, but I'm sorry, it's just never worked for me. So, without further ado, here's why I think Wall-E is kind of mid. I'm so gonna get called out in the comment section for this, I just know it. Just like for my other not-so-positive reviews, I might as well get what I like out of the way first before we get into the main discussion. Like most Pixar films, Wall-E is very well made. The first 20 minutes of silence, I'll admit, are a tad boring, but are still effective and work for setting everything up. It's nice seeing Wall-E just simply going about his business, curious about certain human objects. It's especially cool seeing him find that one single plant, still yet alive. There's also several scenes that I loved looking back on, like the montage of Wall-E flying through space and leaving ripples in a stream of luminescent blue stardust, or the montage of Wall-E and Eve dancing with each other among the stars. And of course, the ending when they touch heads as that music plays in the background is so good. The score by Thomas Newman is also excellent and plays a lot into setting the mood for every scene, whether it be elegant or fast-paced. Just like for when he scored Finding Nemo. And, let's see. Have I mentioned yet that this is a much better made film than Lightyear? Okay, now for my negatives. Don't get me wrong, this movie isn't overall bad. There's plenty of moments here and there that I really enjoy. But, yeah, for the most part, I've never really been a fan of it. Basically, there are two story threads here. The first one being the romance between Wall-E and Eve, and the other being about the humans who left Earth behind, then learned to come back to their home and care for the mess humanity left behind. The movie at its center is a romance story between a trash compacting robot who is left on an abandoned Earth to clean up the mess humanity has made of it long ago, and Eve, a new sleek robot who is sent to check for signs of new life. Wall-E follows Eve back to the ship where humanity now lives. Hijinks ensue, the robots and humans are now a couple, and the captain learns the importance of returning to Earth and caring for what the nature of it all has to offer. The problem is that the way it tries to deliver its message comes across as pretty obvious and downright preachy. Like, big box stores are evil, technologies are doom, nature should be protected, consumers are stupid, fat, greedy. I'm not complaining about this movie having a message or what it's specifically trying to say. As you've probably seen, all movies and their stories reflect our worldviews and the reality we live in. And as for what this movie is trying to say, I 100% agree. I too like nature, dislike trash, and agree with what can happen to the average person who gets consumed by technology and personalized products. But the fact that it's so in your face and completely obvious is what makes it immediately predictable. Parts of this movie are momentarily interesting, parts that I've already mentioned before, but the message is front and center for the rest of the movie. In between the moments of magic are many other moments reminding us how fat, dumb, lazy, stupid we've become for shopping, eating, sitting on our couches, and watching TV. The backstory about the death of life on Earth is just a nod about how evil corporations are. Obese people float by on their hover couches, totally oblivious to others who pass by because their attention is focused on their own personal screens, and robots who cater to their every need. This is like how the message about trust in Raya and the Last Dragon was handled. The intentions are definitely there, but the subtlety isn't. Almost every scene, we gotta have a character talk about how the world is broken and that you can't trust anyone, no matter how convincing they might seem. It's so preachy. It's so on the nose. It just comes across as straight up annoying.
Well, I'm sorry, Sisu, but that's what the world is now. You can't trust anyone.
Yeah, well, the world's broken. You can't trust anyone.
Or maybe the world's broken because you don't trust anyone.
I mean, that's why it worked. That's why we can do it too. By doing the one thing Sisu wanted us to do, what my pa wanted us to do, to finally trust each other and fix this.
Alright, I get it!
Don't worry, I'm not saying the way Wall-E handled its message was in the same vein as Raya. I think Wall-E handles its message a lot better than Raya did. But man, it could have been less obvious. The other problem I have with this movie is the villain, and the fact that this movie chugs along without one for so long, invents one in the last 30 minutes so we can shoot forward into the climax. Otto isn't the worst Pixar villain, and he's a decent enough obstacle for the heroes, but the fact that he turns evil in literally the last 30 minutes feels so forced. As if some executive at Pixar saw an early print of the movie and noticed how preachy it was becoming, and ordered there be a villain to spice things up in the last third. Again, the fact that he turns evil feels so cliche, and I don't think this movie needed to have one in the first place. But, I don't know, the steering wheel has to be evil, so we can have a stupid third act climax. With that said, the climax was actually pretty intense, not gonna lie. I mean, like, Wall-E, literally got crushed, that's insane. And there's some other stuff here and there, like with Wall-E and Eve's relationship. I've honestly never really bought the fact that they were becoming a couple, not only because it just happens by chance, but also because it's never really focused on that much. When we do get to see them together, it's really wholesome. But once we move into the second third of the movie, the focus shifts to its preachy message. This movie always seems to be shifting to different plot points. They could have chosen one or the other. A nice silent movie about a romance between two robots, or a movie about protecting the planet and not giving into the consumer base. As is, it's so hard to care. And also, if you seriously thought I didn't like this movie because it's a silent movie, then you are clearly mistaken. I like the fact that the robots don't speak that often, but I wish the romance between them was fleshed out more. But as it currently stands, it pains to say that I'm just not a fan. And that unfortunately applies to the whole movie. It's not bad. Like I said, there are parts that are interesting. Parts that I've already mentioned before. But I just don't care for it, especially when it shifts into the second half. It's easily one of the least watchable Pixar films to come out in the 2000s, and one of the biggest disappointments out of the studio's entire library. But again, this seems to be a me problem since everyone else loves this movie, and that is cool. Like I said, I'm very happy for those who consider this to be one of the best Pixar movies of all time. But it's for these reasons why I've always found it to be But hey, that's just the way it'll be sometimes. You're not gonna love every single critically acclaimed film out there, and that's okay. Just stick with your own opinion and don't harm anyone else's.